Good day everyone, and welcome to another tech vlog episode for English for academic and professional purposes. For today's topic, we are going to learn about Module 3, Lesson 5, Appropriate Critical Approaches in Writing a Critic or Writing a Reaction Paper. I am Sir CJ, and together we will unlock difficulties. For this lesson, here is the most learning competency with learning objectives that you need to master. Some of you might not be familiar with the movie Titanic, but then I wanted to give you points about this particular activity or this particular task. So here is the picture from the movie. One look is worth 1,000 words. So in our comment section below, I want you to write your analysis about this particular picture. Good job everyone! You made our first task. All your comments are your analysis of what is in the picture. You evaluated the picture using your opinions and your analysis. Let us consider the following scenarios. What common theme do you find in all the scenarios? You are correct. All of them involve evaluating something they read or watch using the reactions and opinions just like in our first activity. Now, if you think writing a reaction paper review or review and critic is hard, then think again, for you have been evaluating and reacting to different works without knowing it. Now, let us have this one. What's new? You may read, "My reaction paper. I am so disappointed at what the author said. He is very wrong about what he said. I do not like what he wrote, and I also hate all his articles. He has been doing that almost often. He is a very boastful writer. He only likes to talk about politics, but he does not know anything about it in reality. He simply copies and pastes whatever he has read. He cannot even explain the ideas very well. The essay is very long. I hate reading long essays. They make me very sleepy. There are many unfamiliar words. I had to open a dictionary to find the meaning. The sentences are also long. Why doesn't he shorten it? I do not recommend others to read his essay. They will surely feel the same way once they have read the essay." Now, is this how one should write a reaction paper? Why? What is a good reaction paper? This text is not the correct way of writing a reaction paper. Views must be based on facts and written in appropriate language and approach. I will repeat, in appropriate language and approach. Then how should you write a reaction paper? You may consider the following points. What is it? A reaction paper, a review, a critic, are a specialized form of writing in which a reviewer or reader evaluates any of the following. So we have a scholar work, a work of art, designs, and graphic designs. Reaction papers, reviews, and critics usually range in length from 250 to 750 words. They are not simply summarized but are critical assessments, analysis, or evaluation of different works. As advanced forms of writing, they involve your skills in critical thinking and recognizing arguments. However, you should not connect the word critic to cynicism or pessimism. Reviewers do not simply rely on mere opinions. Rather, They use both proof and logical reasoning to substantiate their comments. They process ideas and theories, revisit and extend ideas in a specific field of study, and present an analytical response to a book or article. For further understanding of the lesson, let us have now critical approaches in writing a critic. Let us define first what a critic is. When we say critic, it is a careful analysis of an argument to determine what is said, how will the points are made, what assumptions underlie the argument, what issues are overlooked, and what implications are drawn from an observation. A systematic and yet personal observation of what you read. It is a genre of academic writing that briefly summarizes and critically evaluates a work or a concept. Critics can be used to carefully analyze a variety of works such as creative works, research, or even media. More about reaction paper? Let us have different approaches in writing a critic. Like an essay, a critic uses a formal writing academic style and has a clear structure: introduction, body, and conclusion. However, a body of a critic includes a summary of work and a detailed evaluation. The purpose of the evaluation is to gauge the usefulness or impact of a work in a particular field. Thus, we have different approaches in writing a critic. The first one is formalist criticism. When we say formalist criticism, it emphasizes the form of literary work to determine its meaning, focusing on the literary elements and how they work to create a meaning. So what are those literary elements? We have different literary elements class. So we have, like for example, we have the plot, the setting, the characters, okay? So what else? We also have the conflict and the resolution. We also have the alliteration, the personification, and the imagery. Those are an example of literary elements. So it examines a text, or a formalist criticism examines a text as independent from its time period, social setting, and author's background. A text is an independent entity. It also focuses on close reading of text and analysis of the effects of literary elements and techniques on the text. We have two major principles of formalism. The first one is a literary text exists independent of any particular reader and, in a sense, has a fixed meaning. Okay? So, the second one is the greatest literary texts are timeless and universal. So, if you're familiar, class, with the three little pigs, okay, so there is, so we have there, one of the characters there is a wolf. So, what does the wolf symbolize? Notice the consonants, I'll puff and I'll puff. Puff. So, how does this story foreshadow the final fate of the pigs? And what does the wolf's dialogue tell us about his character? So, this story of the little pigs, or the little pigs, okay, the story of these little pigs, okay, shows the formalist criticism. Okay, so like what I said earlier, so it also shows the different literary elements on it. Okay, so the next one is the feminist criticism. So when we talk about feminist criticism, it examines works by and about women. From the word itself, feminist, okay, means a woman or woman. A critic using feminist studies or gender studies might ask, how is gender constructed or destructed in this text? Disconstructed in this text. Is the view of the text gendered or sexist? Feminist criticism is concerned with the role, with the position, and influence of women in a literary text. That is why, class, we have read some of the text wherein the woman women are the characters, and they are not just a character but a strong character. So asserts that the most literature throughout time has been written by a man by a man for men. Examines that the way that the female consciousness is depicted by both male and female writers, and that is correct. So there are four basic principles of feminist criticism. The first one is the Western civilization is patriarchal. Number two, the concept of gender are mainly cultural ideas created by patriarchal societies. Yeah, that is why during the early time class, gender is one of the gender matters when it comes to society. Yeah, if you are a woman, you have less rights, while if you are a man, so all the privileges you may have it. Okay, so patriarchal ideas pervade literature, and most literature through time has been gendered bias, and that is correct, class, like what I've said earlier. So, a feminist reading of the Goldilocks. If you are going to take a look at this example. As a single young woman, Goldilocks finds herself without means of opportunity because she is unattached to a father or a husband. Perhaps this is why she's alone in the woods. An independent woman then is raised to the normal nuclear family represented by three bears. Okay? The third one is historical. So when we say historical, this approach seeks to understand a literary work by investigating the social, cultural, and intellectual context that produces itself. That's why it deals about history, talks about history, a context, and necessarily includes the artist's biography and the milieu. A key goal for a historical critics is to understand the effects of literary work upon its original readers. It is concerned with how the author's original audience would have understood the writing. It takes account the author's biography and the time and the place in which the author. Look at the given examples here in this slide. So the last one, what aspects of America's political climate from 1950s matters to this work? So you have to look at what happened during that time when it comes to politics in America during the 1950s. You have to take a look on what happened on that particular time. Okay, so that's it, historical. The fourth one is reader response criticism. So this approach takes a fundamental tenet that literature exists not as an artifact about a printed page, but as a transaction between the physical text and the mind of a reader. It attempts to describe what happens in the reader's mind while interpreting text and reflects that reading, like writing, is a creative process. That is why, class, when we are reading a work of literature, sometimes we say, I can relate to this because it seems that it happened already. Okay? Okay, so that's a reader response criticism. You are trying to understand, you are trying to interpret what you have read on that particular text. The reader response criticism studies the interaction of reader with text, holding the text as incomplete until it is read. This critical approach can be and often is combined with other approaches. That is why, class, when we are reading, the excitement is there, especially if let's say there is a hanging ending and we cannot predict what will gonna happen the next, or there is another episode and we are too excited because we can able to relate on that particular writing. Okay, so also it focuses on the act of reading and how it affects our perception of meaning in a text, how we feel at the beginning and up to the end. It deals more with the process of creating meaning and experiencing a text as we read. A text is an experience, not an object. believes there is no single fixed interpretation for any word. That is correct, class. Your interpretation might be different from the way how others interpreted the word or the text. Okay? So we have different interpretation on it. The fifth one is sociological. When we say sociological, it focuses on man's relationship to others in society, politics, religion, and business. Sociological criticism deals with or argues that social context or the social environment must be considered when analyzing a text. And that is correct, class. We have to deal with the environment or the social environment. What happened to the character? So therefore, environment has something to do with it. Next is, when we talk about environment, class, like for example, a man who lost his mind, we might be able to think of what happened. Okay? Who are the people behind, or who are the people in the environment concerning about the man who lost his mind? So the second one focuses on the values of the society and how those views are reflected in a text, emphasizes the economic. And the last one, or economic, political, and cultural issues within literary text. And of course, core belief, literature is a reflection of its society. Yeah. And the last one is the Marxist Criticism. So when we say Marxist Criticism, it concerns with differences between economic classes and implications of capitalist system, such as continuing conflict between working class and the elite. It attempts to reveal that the ultimate source of people's experience is the socio-economic system. So the common aspect looked into when using Marxist criticism is first, social class, as represented in the work. Second, social class of the writer-creator. Third, social class of the characters. And the fourth, conflict and interactions between economic classes. So, the last one, okay, so take a look at this table, class. So, this table is about the structure of a reaction paper. Okay, so you have seen here the guidelines in writing a reaction paper review or a critic for articles and journals. For this particular slide, class, you have here the structure of a reaction paper. So under this slide or under this table, you have here the different guidelines in writing a reaction paper, review, or a critic. Whether it came from an articles in journal or it's from the work of other media and even from the general notes. Congratulations, everyone! We are done with our discussion. We are through with our discussion, and since we are through with our discussion, you are ready for our activities. For our activity number 2, you are going to use your answer sheet in answering this particular activity. For statement number 1, okay, you are going to use a smiley face if the statement is true and sad face if the statement is false. What's more about this module? For this particular activity, class, you are going to read the article. Okay, so this article, then answer the questions that follow. You may use your answer sheet in answering this particular task. You are really amazing, guys. We are on the leg of our activity, and for this one, we are going to use the social media for this particular activity. So you have seen in this activity are the reaction videos of many YouTubers or any of the bloggers. So what you are going to do for this particular activity is you are going to watch any of a social discussion or any of the literature in a social media, then give your opinions, your analysis on that particular video. You are going or includes in your activity your documentation, meaning to say you are going to show proof of your participation in this through vlog. So you are going to create a vlog while doing this reaction video. You may use the YouTube. You may use YouTube for example. There are lots of examples in the YouTube. For the rubric of how you are going to be graded for this particular activity is also provided. Here is the rubric. Okay. So now, let's move on with our next activity. What have we learned so far from this module, class? First, one must use appropriate language for a specific discipline, and that is correct, class. Not the kind of language that we use when we are talking to our friends outside. Second, it is important to raise legitimate contra-reviews in an appropriate manner. Third, there are different critical approaches that you can apply when making a critic, and you can also apply this critical approach in making your critic. After knowing the things that we have learned, you are now ready to accomplish this task. So you may accomplish this table by summarizing what you have learned or what you have read by completing it. You may use your notebook for this particular activity. Few more activities are lined before we end this video. So for the next activity, we have here the additional activity. How are you going to accomplish this activity? So by reading the poem on this side, by reading the poem on this side, try to accomplish the table on the other one. So you are just going to go back with what we have discussed earlier on this video lesson for you to answer this activity. And the last one, so we have here our, second to the last, I mean. So we have here the assessment. We have here 10 items here, and use your answer sheet in accomplishing this assessment part. So you are just going to select the correct answer. And finally, class, we are on the last part of this activity, which is your reflection. Your personal insight matters on this last part of your module, which is the reflection part. How are you going to accomplish this? Accomplish this by following the front below. So like, I understand that, I realize that. Congratulations everyone for accomplishing all the tasks in this module. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Select all for you to be updated on the next video that we are going to post. I am your Sir CJ. Thank you and see you again on our next vlog.